Convincing people that a fake country exists, working your way into the Russian royal family, and telling people that you're a martial artist and you've killed people and you're part of a royal family. All of this on today's most amazing top 10 list. Coming in at number 10, we have Gregor MacGregor. This is one of the best royal con jobs of all time. This man, Gregor MacGregor, decided that he wasn't going to go down the standard route of telling people that you were related to an established royal family. No, he decided that he was going to tell everyone that he was from an island off the coast of South America that had an established government, a royal family, and a ton of fertile land. He said that he was the prince of this land and this place didn't exist. He even convinced a group of people to invest in some of this land and travel to this country, a country that he made up. He conned all of these people out of money and then ran off to France, where he tried to do the same thing again, but he was arrested. Coming in at number 9, we have Anna Sorokin. A big part of people pretending to be some sort of royalty is the fact that they want to be rich and famous. They crave to have that lifestyle that some people were just born into. And can you really blame them? For the most part, if you're trying to pull off this kind of scam, you're just going to be stealing from rich people and they can afford it. Anna Sorokin was doing just that. She told everyone their name was Anna Delvey and that she was a German heiress, someone born from money and had money to spend. And she was living in New York and running with some of Manhattan's most rich and famous people. Everyone thought she was one of them, but little did they know that she had been lying about who she was and had been swindling money from banks and rich people. She was actually from a middle-class family in Eastern Europe, and eventually everything caught up with her and she was arrested. Turns out that rich people in Manhattan don't like being cheated out of their money. When everything was said and done, she was convicted of grand larceny and a few other very serious charges. She's looking at 15 years in prison if her sentencing is fully played out. Coming in at number 8, we have Anthony GIGNAC. This man became world famous because for over a decade he was impersonating a Saudi prince. Now here's the thing about being a Saudi prince. No one really knows if you are a Saudi prince unless you're actually part of the Saudi family, who are probably the richest, most powerful royal family in the world. All of their bookkeeping is done within the royal family, so it can be very hard for someone on the outside of the royal family to see in through their walls. Anthony GIGNAC was born an orphan in Colombia who was adopted into a family in Michigan. His whole life he was a notorious liar, and when his parents divorced he was 17 and he went on the run and ended up homeless, but he was able to work his way off the streets by convincing people he was royalty. He started to get massive loans from companies and would travel everywhere with an entourage of bodyguards and was always in luxury cars. At one point he even conned his way into getting his hands on a credit card with a $200 million limit. Eventually he was caught and sentenced to 18 years in a Miami prison. Coming in at number 7, we have top-notch idiots. Not every person who tries to step into the shoes of someone who is rich and famous is going to be doing it with dreams of becoming someone they aren't. Some people are just trying to pull off a good old-fashioned prank. The YouTubers Top-Notch Idiots tried to pull a fast one on a lady with the typical gold digger prank. They had one dude pretend to be a Saudi prince, but he doesn't have any of his riches with him. He asks a lady out, she says no, and then they have a rich guy come in and then this happens.
I'm not from here, so I'm really trying to do something, like maybe go have a drink, have dinner, like maybe you could show me around.
Yeah, absolutely, I know some places. Maybe if you want to go,
And then they pull a fast one on her by having the other dude show up again, and now he has more money than the other guy, and the whole thing gets super messy. And now I know some of these prank videos can be fake, and maybe this one is, but I thought throwing a fun one on this list couldn't hurt. Next on the list we have Princess CARABOO. Let's shoot back to the 19th century and look into a strange woman who was found in a port in Almondsbury in Gloucester, England. This woman was seen wandering and she was catching everyone's eye. For one, she was soaking wet and had some clothes on that seemed to be foreign. On top of that, she was speaking a language that no one could understand. Everyone was confused about who she was, and eventually people suspected that she could be a beggar, and she was arrested. While she was in jail, someone finally found someone to speak with her, and it turns out she was a princess from a far off island off the coast of Indonesia. Well, this was something very interesting, and a local family took her in. She had apparently been kidnapped by pirates, and since this was the most exciting thing that had ever happened to this little town, the word word of a washed up princess took everyone by storm. Her picture was on the cover of the newspaper and now everyone knew her face, which was the worst thing that could have happened to her because someone from the town of Devon came forward and identified her. Apparently she was just a cobbler's daughter and no one special, but for a time she had the whole town thinking she was royalty. Next on the list we have Michelle ANCHES. I don't know that much about royalty, but I always thought that it would be cool to be a duke. Because you're not too high up, but you're also not too low down. You're in that nice middle ground where no one bothers you and you can be rich but not too rich. No one comes to the duke with their problems. Everyone goes to the king or the emperor. The duke just kinda hangs out and eats some chicken. That's all you do. Well, Michelle ANCHES was thinking the same thing. She claimed she was the Grand Duchess Tatiana of Russia. Tatiana of the Romanov family that were all killed in a massive revolution that led to the fall of the Russian monarchy. Well, some people bought into this and she started to get some notoriety. People thought that maybe she found a way to escape and she was out in the wild. She was even able to set up a meeting with the Grand Duchess's grandmother. If she could pass this test, then there would be a chance that people would believe her wild stories and she would skyrocket to a level of fame that would have been unimaginable before. But she never got her shot because right when she set up the meeting with the royal granny, she was killed. Now we will never know if she was telling the truth. Well, actually, we do know because once DNA testing came forward, we're able to confirm that Michelle was lying and the Grand Duchess was dead long before she ever made her claim. Next on the list we have Helga de la Brache. I mean, if someone told you they were the daughter of the King of Sweden, wouldn't you be like, yeah, sure, like I could believe that. I don't know if you're not. I don't see why that couldn't happen. I don't even really know what that means, especially if it was the early 1800s. Well, Helga de la Brache claimed that she was the secret, legitimate child of King Gustav and Queen Frederica Breden. She said that she was born in Germany where the king and queen had remarried in secret. She was then brought back to Sweden and put into an insane asylum so that they could hide their secret child. Eventually, she escaped and was able to get in contact with the authorities. Through some very clever convincing, she worked her way into the royal pension and was given $6,000 a month. Hold up. You get money just for being royalty? For all I know, I could be royalty. I just haven't checked yet. How do I know I'm not royal? You get what I mean? She was able to work her way into higher levels of society through her lies, and the reason she was so convincing was because she was able to be so naive and clueless. People literally thought she was too dumb to pull off such a plan. It's always good to have people think you're dumber than you are. Next on the list we have Count Dante. When you go back through time, there's a strange era of martial arts in the mid-20th century where people were making claims that they were great martial artists from secret backgrounds, but they would rarely show off their skills in the ring. Now if someone makes the claim that they can kick anyone's ass, then you got to step into the cage and show everyone that it's true. But Count Dante was just that. He claimed that he was the world's greatest martial artist. He said that he had been in fights all over the globe in secret underground fight leagues. Many of these contests were battles to the death. His real name was John Keehan, much less exciting, or at least that's what people knew him as. But to try and push his fame as a world-class fighter, he started to tell people that he was actually descendant of Spanish nobility. Neither of his claims of being royalty or the deadliest man alive have ever been proven. Next on the list we have Harry Domela. Harry Domela was born in Latvia in 1905. As a young man, he wanted to join the army, but he was too little to get into the big leagues, so he decided that he would travel the world and lie instead. He moved to Germany and was arrested a few times for using false identities. Something I'm learning about these con artists is that you have to be persistent. If a con fails, you have to keep pushing. Harry eventually was able to make his way into German nobility, and he had all of them convinced that he was the Prince of Germany born in Latvia. People thought that he was actually the heir to the throne. He then used this status to travel around Germany with some of the most rich and famous people of that era. But when you start pulling off moves like this, it won't take long for the press to get involved, and once they did, he was arrested and put to trial. But while awaiting his trial, he wrote a memoir about his life, and get this, he was acquitted for his crimes because the court said that he didn't cause harm to anyone, because he never actually accepted money from a single person. Then he sold the book about his life, sold the movie rights, and 2 plays were created about him. Not a bad shake. And number 1 on the list is Anna Anderson, one of the most famous cases of impersonating royalty. The royal family of Russia was killed in 1918 after a massive revolution. Every last member of the family was killed, but some people thought that Anastasia Romanov could have survived. If this was true, it would mean that she was the rightful heir to the throne. The daughter of the final Russian Tsar was still walking around the world. Well, some people thought she could have been. Well, then comes Anna Anderson, a Russian-born girl that made the claim that she was in fact this person. And even though everyone who was linked to the former Russian monarchy called her a liar, there were few people of status in Russia who took to her story, and she was able to build up quite a bit of fame. This turned into a bunch of books and movies, but well after her death, a DNA test proved that she was not who she said she was. Big surprise. Alright guys, that has been our list. I've been your host, Chad Arena, and I'll see you on the next one.